Now I'm recording.
Okay, so it's actually recording.
Yeah, just tell me who you are.
Well, actually, can we start?
Yeah.
Start like here, and I'm going to invite in to the studio. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So, let's see.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be in there right now.
Okay, let me know when you're ready.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, hi. My name is Tim Lane.
Wait a sec, it's refocusing, sorry.
That's okay.
There. Okay.
Just say when.
All right. Let me get a more natural light here. A little warmer.
So here's what I'm thinking of doing. Should we kind of walk through it first?
Yes. I can't get it to autofocus right now.
Maybe it's because the light needs... Do I need to be further away?
No, it is just not autofocusing, so I'm doing it myself. Okay, why don't you just give me your hello, I'm Tim.
Okay.
Give me something to start with.
All right. Hi, I'm Tim Lane, and I wanted to invite all of you who have become members of Patreon to help me support my project, and I wanted to give you a tour of my studio and a tour of some of the things that I do, so that we're more closely introduced.
Try again. Give me another.
Give you another.
Give me another.
Okay.
Just casual, just throw it out there.
Okay. Hi, I'm Tim Lane, and I am... Let me start over. Hi, I'm Tim Lane, and I wanted to take the opportunity to thank all of you, first of all, for supporting me through Patreon. And also, I wanted to introduce myself and introduce my work to you in a more personal way and give you a sense of the process that I work with. And I also wanted to show you I wanted to invite you into my studio so you can see where I actually do my work. So if you'd like to come on in. This is the studio. You'll see that I have a lot of pictures hanging up and various albums and things like that. I like to keep these things because they give me a kind of moral support. A lot of what you see is stuff that has been really inspiring to me over the years and keeps me feeling energized and keeping the spirit in me. Here you'll see you've got Steve McQueen. I initially hung that up so that it would be directly in front of me when I'm working, so that it's always sort of an inspiration as I'm working on the book about Steve McQueen. But also you'll see that I've got Jack Kerouac up there, who's been a very big inspiration to me since I was very, very young. Walt Whitman. I've got an IWW song book, the Little Red Song Book, that was carried by so many people who were part of the IWW. I've got Jackson Browne, Elvis, Bob Dylan and Bruce Springsteen, Miles Davis, Ray Charles, Marvin Gaye. This particular album has been very, very motivating for me over the years. Let's see. This drawing desk alone, you'll find that I'm a pretty sentimental person. This drawing desk was given to me by my best friend in college, who currently lives in Cleveland and lived in Cleveland when he was kind enough to drive this all the way down to St. Louis here and give it to me. And so it's a very important piece of furniture for me. I also have, let's see, this poster here is really important to me. It's from Hatch Prince, which I'm a big fan of. Also, you'll notice there's a lot of Dick Tracy stuff around. I'm a big Dick Tracy fan and hope that eventually I'll read every Dick Tracy strip ever written, and in this sort of romantic dream I have of myself, I will become a Dick Tracy scholar. But I'm only, I think, at about 1948 in terms of like serious reading all the way through. from the first strips. This is a painting that my wife did. I am a big fan, which may seem sort of ironic when you think of like the work I tend to do is very labor intensive and intricate, but I'm a big fan of art that is very simple, particularly drawing and painting that's very simple. That's why I'm a big fan of John Porcelino. I really appreciate just sort of the bare bones of things. However, that doesn't necessarily translate into my working method. Anyway, this piece is an abstraction. My wife can see things in terms of abstraction, whereas I always see things as something. So I call this the escape pod. This reminds me of like an escape pod popping off of something. And she doesn't have a problem with me making those kind of reading into her paintings that way. Let's see. Another Steve McQueen piece here. This is an album that was actually produced for the movie he did after Bullet called The Reavers. Joan Baez, she also is a very inspirational person to me. And so I like to have pictures of people around whose inspiration is constantly kind of energizing me. But some other really things that I find really valuable. This Special Agent comic book, which was sent to me by a friend. I didn't even know that the railroad put these books out. And this is from the 1940s. But if anybody out there has ever heard of Special Agent comics, boy, you'll be the first person I knew who did, because I certainly didn't know that comic book. But anyway, another thing that I'd like to show you is the project that I'm working on right now, the Steve McQueen story that I'm working on right now. So let me scoot around here so you can take a look at the drawing table. By the way, here are also some of the things that I use. You can see, a lot of pens. I use rapidographs when I am working with colored inks, but for the most part, I prefer just to use microns. And yeah. Let's see. Oh, this is also really important. It's kind of an inspiration. This is a picture of me when I was 2 years old, and whenever I really get down on myself and wonder why I made the crazy artistic decisions I made, I take a look at that take a look at that picture, and it reminds me that I'm still part of a continuum that began way back then. That would be 1973, I believe. So, the story I'm working on for Steve McQueen right now is called Steve McQueen Has Vanished. And here are the only pages that are complete yet. But this story takes place in 1975, during a period when Steve McQueen decided to take a hiatus from Hollywood and did some soul searching. So I've actually already written one other story that's not like this. It's a little bit different, but it deals with that sort of soul-searching period in his life. I'm finding myself very attracted to that. I think also it's interesting because Steve McQueen in 1975, Steve McQueen would have been 45, which is how old I am. So I'm identifying, I think, very much with some of Steve McQueen's soul-searching. You get to a certain age, and it's not necessarily a midlife crisis, but you begin to, you're halfway there, if you're lucky enough to live a long and natural life. And you put a lot of effort and time into one particular pursuit, and it's a good idea to kind of step back and reflect. So I'm finding that I'm very inspired by this period in Steve McQueen's life. So those are the only 3 pages that I have finished, and this just might be interesting to you. This is the page that I'm actually working on as the 4th. So what I end up doing, let's see here. I'll show you a little bit more closely once we talk a little bit more about my process and we're out of the drawing room here. But what I do is I write all the scripts out first, and then I type them up. So this is what they look like. This isn't actually from Steve McQueen. This is something I call errant stories. There are a bunch of stories that I've had going for a long time, and they're kind of in the vein of if you've read Abandoned Cars or The Lonesome Go. They're short stories like that. And so I've been dabbling, actually, with this one. I've been continuing this story. Anyway, this is an example how the script sort of works. And you can see that even though, if you take a look at this, you having a hard time getting focus on that?
Yeah, because they're close. So
yeah,
it's all right.
No, it's all right.
It's good.
Okay, so this is, if you take a look at this, this is a pretty tight script for me anyway. But you'll notice that even after it's all typed up, there's still a lot of improvisation that goes along as you work on the story. A lot of these characters tend to kind of verbalize their thoughts beyond just what you initially had written out for them. And that's actually one of the really fun things about comics, I think, is that, how do you put it? It's like, so for me, everything in these drawings, like when I'm drawing this scene, I literally can feel that fan on. I imagine what these maps are over here, or I imagine, what's in the guy's magazine. I literally want to be there. It's almost kind of like I want to escape the world that I live in. It's not that I want to escape the world that I live in, but I really want to be in that scene. I want to be there with them. And so, in that regard, I think a lot of people think of drawing comics in particular as this laborious, time-consuming process, and it is that. But for me, if I can get my head into the place where those things are taking place, and literally feel the sensations that are happening there, it's certainly not boring. It's very fun, and it's very rewarding. It's rewarding. It's like, in a sense, one of the things with this Steve McQueen book has been, I'm kind of transporting through time. Going from, he was born in 1930, and he lived till 1980. Now, I was only around for 10 of those years, but it's like being able to transport myself back to these various places, and I find that really exciting. That's probably good for this portion.
Yeah. Okay. Why don't you let me get some